Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was another painful month for inflation as it hit 8.1%. That is higher than the 7.7% number from May. And it looks like the Bank of Canada is indicating that they expect inflation to remain very high until at least the end of the year. The definitive guide on how to manage your credit: product, penalty, price, in that order. It's never been more important to get your mortgage right. All right, so welcome back. Stats Canada released the inflation data for June, and the numbers were high. The highest since 1983, the highest we've seen all year, the highest I've ever seen in my lifetime. They were 8.1% compared to the 7.7% in May. And while those inflation numbers are significantly higher than were expected, there seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm going to get into all the details of that in a minute and talk about exactly what areas of inflation seem to be getting better. But before we get into it, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's discuss all the data, all the CPI information that came out today. And it is another painful month for inflation. And I'm just getting tired of talking about inflation. I'm not going to lie. And I think you guys are probably getting tired of hearing about it. But there seems to be some light at the end of the tunnel, even though the Bank of Canada is suggesting that inflation is going to remain high, at least until the end of the year. So I'm going to jump you in as we do, show you the headlines. This is from BNN Bloomberg. Inflation will remain painfully high all year, Bank of Canada governor anticipates. And there's some really interesting comments in this article, specifically with respect to the fact that he says it's going to be painfully high. These are Macklem's words on Wednesday. And the reality of it is last month's inflation was largely due to higher gas prices. Now, there is some good news. Gas prices have come down slightly this month, which has led Tiff Macklem to suggest that our July CPI numbers could come down, which would be a good thing. There's also been some relief in food. While food prices are still continuing to go up, they aren't going up as much as they were previously. In fact, they're up just 0.1% compared to the previous month. So there seems to be some peaking happening here, and we all hope that that is actually the case and that these inflation numbers are getting to the top, because if it goes on much longer, I think people are going to get a little bit upset if they aren't upset already. And there were some interesting comments here throughout the day from different economists. There were a couple specifically from one of my favorite economists. This is actually the person who, when I was about 15 years old, became the reason why I went into economics in the first place. Her name is Dr. Sherry Cooper. She was the chief economist for Bank of Montreal. She's now the chief economist for the Dominion Lending Centers Group. And I'll never forget my mom taking me to see her speak. And it was just mesmerizing. And her commentary with respect to what's going on with inflation this month is really, really good and really unique. Now, I'm just going to read you some of the highlights of what she said. But basically what she says is this, it was another bad day for inflation. Excluding gasoline, though, the CPI rose 6.5% year over year. On a monthly basis, the CPI rose 0.7% in June, so that's over May. So we had a slight increase. That is down from the 1.4% increase that we saw in May over April, which is a good thing. And on average, we're seeing incomes rise by about 5.2%. So, prices are still going up, but things seem to be getting a little bit better, especially on the housing front. With housing prices correcting a little bit, we're seeing lumber prices go down significantly, so the cost to build homes are getting lower. And even though gasoline prices have surged by almost 54% in the last year, they are starting to come down a little bit. And in Dr. Cooper's bottom line, she said this: all central banks worldwide, except for Japan, face much more than expected inflation. The rise in the annual pace of inflation past the 8% mark will keep the Bank of Canada on its tightening path, though the numbers show some evidence of softening. For example, food prices appear to be easing and gasoline inflation may have peaked. Food prices were up 0.1% in June, the slowest increase in a year. Shelter costs gained 0.4%, the smallest increase since November. And Statistics Canada said that reflects the lower real estate commissions as the housing market slowed. With some luck, price pressures might be peaking. The chart below shows the Bank of Canada's most recent forecast for inflation, published last week in the July Monetary Policy Report. And the Bank of Canada estimated inflation would average about 8% through the third quarter of 2022 before slowing. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because according to the swaps market, traders are betting that the central bank will hike its policy rate another 75 basis points in September. And Tiff Macklem has said specifically he is trying to front load the interest rate increases, which means they are probably going to do just that, move at that 0.75%, if not 1%, in September. Now, That would move interest rates to 3.25%, which means they would be above the neutral rate, which means they should no longer be encouraging the economy to be robust, and they should start having a slowing effect on the economy. And this, if it has the proper effects on inflation, is a good thing. But here's the thing. Inflation is clearly at this point a worldwide problem. It's not a Canada problem. The only country that seems to be avoiding it is Japan, and they've seemed to be able to do this since the early 1990s. Everyone else is in the same boat. So while the Bank of Canada and the Federal Reserve in the US are trying to do as much as they can to reduce the amount of demand in the economy, that's the only thing that they have an impact on right now is the amount of demand and how much money is available in Canadians' pockets. And it seems like they're dead set on reducing that amount of money so that the amount of demand for things goes down. So the best thing that people can do, Canadians can do, is stop spending so much freaking money on things that you don't need. Travel prices are up. Well, we should probably be saving for that recession that's almost surely coming as a result of these higher interest rates, and spending on all the things that you don't need should be going down. I cannot emphasize enough that if you have gotten a mortgage in the last 2 or 3 years and you feel like things are tight, well, you probably need to stop spending on things that are lifestyle spends rather than necessities. And like I've said in the past, the best way to do this is go through, take a look at all your spending, and then just write down next to everything that you spent money on in the last month, whether it was a necessity or whether it was something that you just wanted. And if it was something that you wanted, then figure out how much money you spent on the things that you just wanted and that you didn't absolutely need. And I think you'll find that you'll save $1,000, $2,000, maybe $3,000 a month by just curbing your spending on the things that you don't need to be spending on. So the inflation numbers, you know what? They're high. They're going to continue to be high. We're going to talk about them every month, even though they're getting boring to talk about. But hopefully by the end of the year, they will come back down. We'll start to see rates come back down and things will go a little bit closer to back to normal. So if you found this video useful, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video, and check out some of the other videos on the channel. I'll link them here and here.